Hey Mastery Seekers, it's Agi here. I'm so grateful that you're listening to this podcast. And over time I've realized that these conversations are evolving from just listening to actually interacting. So I've created a space for us to come together and dive deeper into these conversations and the actionable insights to implement. I'd love for you to join us. Go to 𝗩𝗡𝗦𝗢𝗨𝗥𝗖𝗘.com. Welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast, and this is another snippet of wisdom where I select my favorite, insightful moments from previous episodes. Today's snippet is from my conversation with Colin Kingsmill, who went from Swiss banker to donating everything to becoming a coach. It is about how to deconstruct our narratives of unworthiness, that belief not good enough. Let's dive right in.
In the book that I'm writing, I have 7 or 8 steps, right, about becoming fearless, right? And becoming fearless is really shedding those stories and shedding those narratives. But it's got to be a proactive process, okay? Now, whether it's my 8 steps or whether it's somebody else's, I don't think it matters, but it's got to be a proactive process of almost self-protection, right? So the first thing that I say is turn off the news, right? Turn off all toxicity that's coming into your life, right? That could be food, that could be family, that could be relationships, that could be a job, that could be any number of things that are adding toxicity to your thought process, right? And the reason I say turn off the news as the kind of the top line is that's a product, right? And it's a product to keep you engaged and to sell advertising, right? But that's not informing you and that's not helping you. So my first step is turn off the news, right? The second step to me is start to listen to yourself. And I think you kind of hinted on this before, that our body is always sending us messages, right? Now, the mind may be saying something else, like, oh, push through this. And, entrepreneurs or founders pushing themselves and pushing themselves and pushing themselves without self-care, right? So you've got to listen to yourself. You've got to listen to your body. You've got to listen to the messages that it's sending you. My next step, if you want, is design a picture of the life that you want, the life that you really want, right? I think so often we're conned to believe that we are not the designers. We're not the architects of our life, right? We're not responsible for our thoughts. We're not responsible for the stories or the ideas that come into our head. Well, we are, right? So own it, but design what you want, right? And then once you've designed and I've got my vision boards over here. I've got like you design it, right? So design what you want, and then you break it down into a series of goals that you can actually achieve, right? Because it's so easy to have the motivational poster on the wall, right? Right? And then you just look at it, or I don't know, you want a Ferrari or you want whatever you want, right? You got that on the wall. That's not enough. You have to break it down into a strategy of how do I get to that destination, right? I use sailing a lot as a metaphor, right? Like if you don't put the coordinates in to where you want your sailboat to go, then you're just bouncing along on the open sea and on the waves, right? So design the life you want, put the coordinates in your GPS, right? Take the steps along the way to get there, okay? So once you've got the destination, once you've plotted your course and you've plotted all the steps along the way, decide what are the daily rituals to keep you on track, to keep you accountable, okay? Because so often it's so easy to wake up in the morning and turn on the news, turn on Twitter, turn on porn, whatever you're doing, right? As a quote unquote coping mechanism or as a starter to your day, change them, right? What are the daily rituals that are going to help you stay on track? Whether it's meditation or yoga or mindfulness or whatever, it doesn't matter. But have those and do them and stop self-sabotaging, basically. Now, the last step, or the second to last step, is forget about what others think. And that's why I say live in integrity, right? So often we are bound up by what we think other people are going to think and do. But that's just restrictive. That's not getting your creative energies going. That's not expressing who you really are. And if you don't express who you really are, that internalizes into dis-ease. And that might be mental dis-ease or other forms. And there's lots of research around this. I'm not being sort of crazy and woohoo. And then the last point for me, to answer your question, is forget about everything you've learned. And what I mean by that is don't forget about everything. That would be a tough start to the day. But forget about the conditioning that is no longer serving you, right? And that goes back to the storytelling, right? So the forget about everything you learned is forget about the conditioning that is no longer serving you today. And what are the beliefs that you are perpetuating or telling yourself or repeating to yourself? Again, old stories, right? It happens. We all tell ourselves stories all day long, right? How many thoughts do we have a day, Agi?
70,000, something like that. Yes.
Yeah, right. So if 69,000 of those are negative stories that aren't serving you, stop telling them or stop listening. Tell new ones.
Thank you for listening. You will find the full conversation with Colin Kingsmill in episode 334. The link is in the episode description. If you enjoy listening and appreciate what we're doing here, the quick, simple favor I'm asking of you is to click the subscribe button. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in,